picked to advise the White House on AI, a guy named Sriram Krishnan, came under fire this week over his positions on visas that our largest companies are using to stock themselves with cheap foreign labor. Krishnan wants to end the cap on H1B visas, allowing for an endless flow of foreign labor that's largely been taking over white-collar American jobs. Surprisingly, Elon, Vivek, and even David Sachs jumped in and backed him up on his position, and lines were immediately drawn in MAGA world, with a lot of Trump voters out there pointing out the position being pushed by several top Trump allies is clearly not America first. Earlier this week, Vivek posted that he believes the visas are needed because America has fallen into a state of mediocrity, and other nations less fat from the wealth created by their forefathers are producing harder working, better educated candidates for American jobs. And while Vivek did make a good point in that rant that he put on X, the backlash to his H-1B position was swift. And at 4 o'clock this morning, Vivek shifted, now calling H-1B broken as it is, and saying this: "I've said it countless times in the last 2 years and will say it again. The H-1B system is badly broken. It should be replaced with one that focuses on selecting the very best of the best, not a lottery, pro-competitive, no indentured service to one company," falling much more in line with Trump's position on this topic from 8 years ago when he first ran for president.
So we're going to talk about H-1Bs and some of the actual concerns that's going on the right. As you saw from the intro, good segment by Rob. I think I'm going to do a little bit more reactions to it. But first, I want to kind of lay out the groundwork. So during Christmas, I was away from all this craziness. Vivek came out, and you already saw kind of the backstory, what caused this outrage, what caused this division. And you already see that the mainstream media is trying to stoke this stuff, right? And what Vivek said wasn't necessarily wrong, right? And here's Glenn Greenwald trying to highlight this. Media libs still can't comprehend that Trump supporters, whom they have relentlessly depicted as blindly loyal, leader-worshipping fascist cult, has actual ideological and policy differences they air. It's Democrats who march in lockstep with virtually no dissent. And this is something when I talk about the projection of the left. The left always project things that they themselves are more guilty of. And no matter how much narrative, how much wish casting they do, no matter how much they bombard you online about how cultish the Trumpers are, reality keeps exposing them as liars, nothing more than narratives. MAGA diehards are already attacking Elon and Vivek, and Trump isn't even in office yet, right? And this highlights a lot about what American First actually stands for, right? Because the whole point is, and many people try to disguise this, and it's getting really heated, really emotional. Everyone's trying to make it a race thing. I mean, MSNBC is trying to make it a race thing.
America is a land of the free, home of the brave, all that good stuff that Elon Musk was tweeting about. However, please don't come for Americans. And I would like, let's be very clear, I would like white Americans to stand up. This is your calling card, honey. Where's your banner? Because they coming for you. They said y'all white and lazy. That's crazy.
Well,
that's crazy.
What I
and
find
if
is
I said
interesting.
It, y'all would be coming for me.
Well,
I would never say that because that's insane.
That's the point. What you have happening here is the very thing that white folks have said about black people.
I'm sorry. I just want to know, Vivek was born in the U.S.
For generations. Vivek is now saying about white people, and they don't like it for some reason. Oh, y'all not lazy. Y'all not slow. Y'all not stupid. Well, that's what we've been saying for 400 years, and yet here we are. You still want to not read our history or go through our CRTs and all this
is
stuff.
why the great Reverend Jesse Jackson talked about the Rainbow Coalition, honey, and people were uniting across working class, okay? And black people and white folks and Latino folks coming together, because the rich people, they're not here for you, and this is how they letting you know.
And you see, so you already see the game that you're trying to play, right? And I want to highlight something that they said, something about the Rainbow Coalition, how, the working class whites, Asians, but all of them voted for Trump because Trump has America's best interests at heart. At the end of the day, I don't try to divide people based on their class, based on their ethnicity. All I say is, hey, we all have a common interest in making America the best place possible for us and essentially the world, right? And I think the main concern is the abuse of the H1B1, right? Because I think the left, they're doing their damnedest best to make it racial. Oh, look how racist these Trump supporters are. No, Trump supporters are not racist. This is not some woke-ish that you have people like Kazakhstan. These people who've been trying to push this term woke right for the longest, stop it, please. This is not based on any ethnic anything. It's based on nationalism. Hey, as a government, you should be putting incentive structure where people should not be able to use and abuse the H1B1s. Because I work with a lot of people, contractors, who are H1B1. And sometimes I feel bad for them because I'm like, yo, you're in India and you work all the way till 11 p.m. 11 a.m. Eastern Pacific time. This is the time zone I work on. And I'm like, yo, it must be like almost 10 at night from your point of view. And you've been working because of, they know, hey, this is almost like indentured servitude. And there's stories, countless stories from 2016 that's highlighted of how American workers, usually around this time, get fired, get laid off, but we want to train your replacements first. And this is a good tweet that I think encapsulates the actual argument, the nuanced argument that's happening on the right. Don't believe what the leftists talk about. They're just trying to use this as a way to further inflame division in the right, division with conservatives, try to paint us all as, oh, look at these people, they're racist, they don't care, they just don't like immigrants, period. No, we don't want our systems to be abused and used against the interests of the American people. The invasion of the southern border brought in terror. Operation Paperclip gave us NASA. Proper use of H1B1 gave us SpaceX and Tesla. And some people trying to point it out, like what the MSNBC host was trying to point out, oh, these rich people don't care about you. Look, we're all interdependent on each other. Without the capital, your job wouldn't exist. I'm just being honest right now. If a rich person wasn't funding the company, wasn't taking all the risk of having no guaranteed income, we won't have a job right now. Okay? So there has to be some compromise there. Just because you find someone, oh, look, Patrick Bet-David used H1B1s. Doesn't matter. The point is, we don't want this system to be used and abused as you saw stories of McDonald's, Disney, abusing this to offshore and wage suppression. Because people are using the Patrick Bet-David thing, and I'm seeing, okay, graphic designer, $40K. Yeah, that sounds about right. Graphic designers tend to make that much money. So it's not abusing the H1B1 for cheap labor, but we do know that is a problem. MAGA's problem is with the abuse. I agree, especially considering the discrimination against certain groups. And I can bring this analogy home in a variety of ways, but first I want to give Mark Dice. I think he has a good kind of a framing about how many people who are very pro-American see the H1B1 and how it's being abused for cheap labor. Let's take a look.
The neocons claim that these are highly skilled workers that America needs in order to remain competitive in the global economy. All you have to do is actually look at who the vast majority of these H1B workers are and the jobs that they work, like the base salaries that they're making, $34,000, $39,000, $26,000 as cooks at major hotel chains. Many American workers actually have to train their replacements before they themselves are fired, as this New York Times piece from 2015 surprisingly admits pink slips at Disney, but first training their foreign replacements. Same thing at McDonald's. McDonald's hires foreign H1Bs, fires 70 American accounting staff. So we need, quote, highly specialized accountants at McDonald's. These are the jobs that Americans just can't do. Jobs that Americans just won't do, they say. Of course, Tucker Carlson, being an American First patriot, warned about the H1B legal immigration loophole back when he was on Fox News before being fired in order to try to silence him.
The rideshare company Uber has fired more than 1,000 workers since July, mostly Americans. That's about 2% of its workforce. Meanwhile, during the same period, the federal government has approved hundreds of new H1B visas for Uber. And that means they can replace those workers with foreign scabs who will work for less.
So here's the thing that I want to bring up is I talk about education a lot on my channel, right? And I think that what's allowing room for many people to make this argument about H1B1s, how we don't have enough qualified engineers to work, but people love to brag about the university system. And the university system, it does nothing. Like, I'm being honest. The university system picks for the smartest and brightest already. Like, make it make sense. They have an SAT score for a reason. Because even if you take them and you put them in college, I think they would have been successful with or without college. If you go lower, and this is where I get mad at the Department of Education, since the creation of the Federal Department of Education, our education system went from number one when Jimmy Carter was in peace, rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. When Jimmy Carter created it in his administration, education has been going on a downward trend. The education has not been helping creating individuals that will be able to actually do those high-end tech jobs, those white-collar jobs that many people are complaining are being replaced by foreign workers. And I'm saying that the education system doesn't help. 76% of American students are educated in the public school system, aka government-funded government schools. And look at the results. This is Vivek Ramaswamy, because you have to hear his argument. I know a lot of people got emotional. I know a lot of people got mad about how he phrased it. And you saw the clip. I gave you guys your voice, right? Mark Dice encapsulated exactly why people were outraged against what Vivek had to point out. But for me, I'm about solutions. I want to fix what's going on. And I've been talking about this. This is one of the reasons why I homeschool my kids. Because of the fact that these are the outcomes that our education system is giving us. Only 31% of 8th graders are proficient in reading. 30% are below basic reading, functionally illiterate, right? Only 27% of 8th graders are proficient in math, which is very needed for AI, technology, a lot of these jobs where people are complaining, oh, these Indians are taking all these software engineering jobs. Oh my God, they're firing our workers. And I understand the cheap labor argument. I understand that H1B1s get abused. But our education system isn't helping us. Hiring American workers is more difficult because our education system is failing. Exactly. And I've been calling this out long. Like, don't sit here, get mad at me. I talk about this problem numerous times on my channel. And I said one of the biggest long-term problems, I think the biggest long-term priorities in the conservative movement is education. Look at the education system. Look at it being overrun by a bunch of liberals. And they will tell us, oh, Americans can't do the job because you handicap us. You don't break our leg and say, oh, Americans can't run the race when you're the ones doing it. You're the ones giving our majority of our students a bad education system, a bad foundation to the point where they can't even be competitive for these jobs. And then you're going to claim it, oh, it's laziness, it's culture. No, it's not. It's a system that Democrats ruthlessly defend when it's giving us bad outcomes. Like, how can you defend funding something that's giving us objectively bad outcomes to the point where you have tech guys like Vivek and Elon Musk advocating for H1B1s because they say they can't find enough engineering talent here in the US? It's a chicken and the egg problem. But I believe it's our education. It started with our education system. Because if our education system was up to standard and we were able to produce a lot of these Americans, because universities, and this is another thing, the reason why these universities seem to do well is because they admit a lot of foreign international students into the universities as well. And this is what I'm saying. By the time we got to university, it's already too late. And this is the same argument I make to black people about why they're falling behind compared to other groups. Asians have the highest average income. Black immigrants have higher incomes than, on average, than African Americans that have been here for generations. Why is that? Education. A lot of the times, and I can say this as firsthand experience as a person descended from Haitian immigrants, they put in your head is either you're a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. That was the choices I had as a child. My mom made me read by the time I was six years old. When I got in the first grade, I was already reading at a third grade reading level. Immigrants, this is culture. And now with my kids, I'm homeschooling them because I see that the Department of Education is a waste of taxpayer money. This is a five-alarm fire on President Trump's vision to dismantle the Department of Education. It's the first step to fixing it. The federal bureaucracy has wasted boatloads of taxpayer dollars while impeding the success of our students. The statistics below are true, downright brutal. And how much money we spend on the Department of Education? I believe about $800 billion. That's a lot of tax money we could save for a product that's not been producing a good outcome for us from educational-wise. And then downstream, our workforce are not as competitive as foreign workers. This is what gives them H1B1 a case. This is the long-term fix that we have to do if we want to lower. Because the point is, people want to limit the H1B1s. But we're in a technology race right now. We can't afford to do that. And I'm not a grifter because I point out the nuances of the discussion. I'm telling you, like, hey, look, this is how we got in this situation in the first place, where workers are being replaced. Yes, I see the cooks. Yes, I understand the lower salaries, the cheap laborers, these are hotel chains that's taking advantage of the H1B1s. Those should be removed. I agree. But when it comes to things that's high priority, we need to do something about it. And I agree with reforming the H1B1. And before I end off the video, I want to play a little bit more about the H1B1 debate and unpacking why it's such a problem on the right.
Nobody knows it better than me. I'm a businessman. These are laws, these are regulations, these are rules. We're allowed to do it. And frankly, it's very, very hard for our companies in this country, to compete. It's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers.
You have it right there. Now, Trump's more recent positions, because that was 8 years ago, his more recent positions on HB1 are relatively unknown. For the most part, he's been focused on the border and stopping illegal and chain migration into the country, while consistently also saying that he wants to expand legal immigration. But the backlash has forced the Doge boys, as we call them, to shift on ending the caps on HB1, enhancing the foreign visa, to now advising that America curtail it further.
I agree with that. Right. And then before I end off this video, I want to let you know that Trump has backed Musk on the immigration visas. It's a great program. Musk has advocated for bringing in top engineering talent to keep America on top, while also needing to eliminate fraud from the H1B1 visas, which I agree. We do need to eliminate fraud, because a lot of these H1B1s, like when they point out, oh, look at all this cheap labor. Oh my God, they're getting software engineers for $50K a year. We need to eliminate that. Yes, I agree. My point is, with all this discussion, is that the nuance of it is, instead of doing the short term, because I see H1B1s as nothing more than a short-term band-aid on the real problem that's affecting America. The long-term case will be improve the education system, get kids more interested in engineering. Look at the reality. Look at our culture. Like, let's look at it. If you ask Gen Z and Gen Alpha what they want to be when they grow up, when I was growing up as a millennial, I'm 28 years old. I was born in 1996. When I grew up as a millennial, my butt was saying I want to be a doctor, engineer, right? Those are the things I was saying growing up. If you ask a kid growing up now what they want to be, it's influencer. Influencer. Look at TikTok. Influencer. Well, if you go to China, they reprogram TikTok to push engineering, math, science. So our culture plays a part into why we're not producing people who will make this redundant. Like, if we were producing the kind of kids, Americans, that were good engineering talent, H1B1s, Elon Musk wouldn't have the ability to make this case. But he can, because of the fact of our broken education system. Right? And this is the same argument that I laid out to Black America. Hey, Black America, your culture produces a lot of good athletes. This is why the NBA is 78% Black. Why football is 51% Black, even though you're only 13% of the population, because your culture incentivizes our youth to be sports athletes. And this is why we run sports. But what about the academic side? You want to blame systematic racism, institutional racism, discrimination? Oh, look at discrimination, racism on why you're not in tech, why you're not in engineering, why there has not been a single Black applicant that graduated with a doctorate degree in certain engineering fields because of racism. not because of culture, not because of ability, not because of incentive. And this is the same argument I make about American culture. That for too long, we have let people push a culture of self-esteem. Oh, you can be whatever you want to be. And we have become less pragmatic as a culture. And this is what I'm talking about. I think we need to look at this more pragmatically. And let's tune out all the noise. We can have the debate. Let's talk about it. Let's understand what we actually want done. Compromise, find the middle ground. Because end of the day, we need the H1B1s. Sorry, Democrats have created an environment. And yes, I'm blaming the Democrats because the Democrats are the one that created the Department of Education. The Department of Education, we threw $800 billion a year on the Department of Education and look at the educational outcome to the point where our own workforce cannot compete for top engineering talent. We're not producing top engineering talent to keep America at the top. That's a damning indictment on our educational system. And I blame public school because public school educate the majority of American students in our country. And then Democrats have the goal, Republicans don't want kids to read. Republicans don't want kids to learn how to read. They're not learning how to read right now. What are you talking about? We might as well dismantle the Department of Education. We might as well close the Department of Education because kids are not learning how to read right now. Majority of the kids don't know how to do math right now. And we have it up right now. Like, this is my problem. Democrats don't focus on the results of their policies. They want to play, it would have been worse. It would have been worse. How could it be any more worse? We're spending $800 billion a year just for only 27% of our kids to be proficient at math. For only 31% of our kids to be literate. Make it make sense. And you wonder why people can't understand. You wonder why critical thinking is such a hard thing to come by nowadays in our political discussion. Because sometimes I honestly believe this is intentional. This is intentional. Teachers unions, they want all this money. They demand all this money to spend towards teachers unions and all this stuff. But look at the outcomes they're giving us. And then they're going to turn around and say, oh, we need foreign workers. It's almost like you creating the need. That's how it comes across to me. But I think I'll leave it off there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts, what you guys are thinking about the H1B1 debate. Are you in favor of it not being abused? Are you in favor of just eliminating it completely? But to me, that's going to hurt us in the short term. Long term, revamp our education system. Hey, let's use these top engineering talents to further the development of our students, of our children, so that way in the future, the top engineering talents are being produced by America and not from someplace else. Let me know your thoughts about this whole H1B1 debate. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.